I said, do you need one or two?
What you mean?
Did you need one more or two more? I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I forgot. I know you can edit this out. So.
Dance, sister. Smile, sister. Laugh, sister. Cry, sister. Yo, pride, sister. Don't hide, sister. Show the vibe, sister.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Self with Oumy. Follow me on Instagram at Queen Oumy, and don't forget to subscribe. I'm sorry I missed me last week, but your girl was a little sick, okay? But I didn't want to record sounding all stuffy and stuff, so I was like, let me just recoup, get my stuff together, and then come back with another one. So today for Melanin Magic, I am going to shout out my brother, AC Williams. He has a blog called Tell Your Vegan Friend. His Instagram name is Crown Size. And he does everything vegan, goes to different vegan scenery and restaurants, and just really educate people on the vegan lifestyles. Like, I feel like a lot of people have misconceptions of veganism and things like that. So he kind of just cleared it up, like, oh, you don't always have to eat vegetables and carrot sticks. Like, you can actually still enjoy food and just do it in a plant-based way. So that is what Tell Your Vegan Friend is all about. And that is my best friend, period. I'm featuring my boo-boo for Melanin Magic. So today I wanted to touch on the big main 5 personalities. This is also known as the Ocean 5 theory. The definition of a personality trait is patterns of behaviors, attitudes, feelings, and habits in an individual contributing to relatively stable and consistent internal characteristics. So these personality traits present to some degree in everyone. So the 5 main characteristics or personality traits are openness, conscientiousness, extroversion, agreeableness, and neuroticism. All personality traits are present in people. Everybody has each personality trait. It's more so where do they lay on the spectrum of that personality trait. So openness is someone who is open to new adventures, someone who is eager to experiment and do things outside of their comfort zone. So conscientiousness is associated with someone who is goal-oriented, likes to get the job done, someone who has very good impulse control. And neuroticism is associated with sadness, incapable of being able to control your emotional state. Vanessa Van Edward, I'm going to talk about her later, but she talked about neuroticism, and she was like, a good example that she used was, have you ever been in a car with somebody and like you almost hit somebody? The person that's still panicking from that moment is very high in neuroticism, and the person who was just like chill and relaxed, like, girl, calm down, that's more so very low on the spectrum of neuroticism. So in my research, I found something very interesting, characteristics that will be associated with people who are on the extreme ends of the personality trait, whether that's on the high extreme or the low extreme end. So someone who is on the high extreme end of openness is someone who is easily distracted, someone who doesn't stick to ideas, like they're always hopping around doing different things. They never really stick to one task. The low extreme of openness is someone who is like inflexible and very closed-minded, their way or the highway. They don't really care to look at other people's perspectives. So the high end of conscientiousness would be someone who is a stickler, someone who's strict, comes off as a perfectionist. They even took it as far as most of those type of people are diagnosed with OCD. On the low end of the spectrum with conscientiousness, someone who is irresponsible, is like just does things off impulse. So someone who's on the high end of the spectrum with the extroversion, someone who's attention seeking, that would be considered shallow, don't really have any close friends. On the low spectrum of extroversion, also known as introverts or introversion, it can come off very cold, standoffish, unfriendly. With agreeableness on the high end of the spectrum, you could be considered someone who's very submissive or gullible, easy to manipulate, a pushover. A fun fact that I learned is someone who is high on agreeableness will most likely commit a crime for somebody else because of their loyalty. They're loyal to their fault. On the low end of agreeableness, you come across someone who is not trustworthy, someone who seems very suspicious and real manipulative towards other people. And lastly, for neuroticism, you'll have difficulty, like I said, difficulty regulating your emotions. You'll experience anxiety, just generally emotionally unstable. And someone who is on the low end of neuroticism would be someone they would characterize them as someone with dispassion, unempathetic, very matter of fact with things. My friend AC always sends me like quizzes to learn your love language, your personality test, your attachment styles. So every time I hear some more information, I'm always like, oh, it sparks something. Like, oh, I heard about that before. Or I read something about that before. Of course, he sent me a test for a personality test in the past. And I remember vaguely what the results were. I remember I was really high on neuroticism, which made so much sense. Like I'm an anxious person by nature, but it's not so like I'm always anxious. But if I'm in a situation where it caused me to be anxious, it just takes me a lot longer to calm down. Like I'm still replaying it in my head over and over again. I'm still like dealing with it emotionally, although it already happened physically. But when I decided to do this video, I did the test again, and honey, the results really flip-flop. Like I was so shocked. Like neuroticism was my lowest score on neuroticism, and I would give that up to meditation, because honey, it's still a process. I also score pretty low on the extroversion. I do enjoy being by myself. I enjoy having my space. All my friends will tell you I'm always gonna be the first one to go to sleep. I'm always gonna be the first one that's trying to stay in the house. Like I'm just that type of person. But when I'm outside, okay? Anywho. By Vanessa Van Edwards, and she calls herself a recovering awkward person. So she spent years doing studies and like doing research on basically just picking apart people's personalities. And also she is considered the human lie detector. So she teaches you micro expressions that people may do that you can kind of tell whether they're being deceitful in their responses based off of the micro expression or the cues that they give you. I'm just going to give you a quick example of a cue with high neuroticism. For somebody who used to or is higher on the spectrum of neuroticism, they are the type of people who do self-soothing techniques. A cue for somebody, and like say you're speaking with someone and they're nervous, or you're sensing that they're nervous, or you're sensing something off. A cue that you may pick up on that would give you the clue that they're nervous or that they're experiencing anxiety is like self-soothing. So rubbing your hands together, or my favorite, rubbing my collarbone or rubbing my legs. I rub my thighs a lot. I noticed that when I'm sad or crying, I rub my thighs and I rub my arms sometimes, and it's like that's a soothing mechanism. You're releasing oxytocin, so that's basically your calm down chemical. I say all that to say that you could assume, based off your knowledge on the 5 personality traits, that person is probably very high in neuroticism. I hope that makes sense. Like my little brother, after doing this, I understood him more, because he's not as high on the extroversion spectrum as I am. Although we both are more so introverts than extroverts, he's just on a much lower end of extroversion than me. So I used to get frustrated and like feel some type of way, because I'd be like, you don't want to hang out with me. But that's not the case, because if I come in his room, we chit-chatting, we talking, we joking, he's okay with that. But going out and being around a lot of people, he ends up leaving feeling drained and like not really being energized by it. Like he's like, oh, I need a break. Like he's that type of person. Where I'm getting at is learning personality traits will help you better understand people. It'll help you better understand yourself. It'll help you better understand your likes and your dislikes. It'll help you understand your strengths and your weaknesses. Like it definitely makes you more a well-rounded person. You could be dealing with someone, let's say your boss, and you could, based off of their personality type, you would know how to move forward with them, or you would move accordingly with them. Like if you know that they're extremely high in conscientiousness, then don't miss a deadline. Like don't miss your deadline for work. Make sure you turn it in early, because you know your boss is gonna be on you, because they are the type of people that's like, we need to get it done, we need to keep it going. Like no. And it would help you form better relationships with people in general. And I feel like that all ties into your healing journey, because like I always say, we're, as humans, we want a community, we want a tribe. So how about we build our tribe and we create our boundaries, and we create, like, how can you create a boundary if you don't know which boundary you're creating? If I have a friend that's on the extreme low end of openness, I'm not gonna try to convince her to do skydiving. It's not gonna happen. I would need a friend that's on a much higher end of openness with a combination of a higher end of extroversion to do a task like that with. I wanted to talk about Euphoria. That show is so good. Like, I don't think anybody, if you don't watch, if you know, you know. So ain't no way that you watching it and you think the show is trash. I just can't see that happening. It's not coming back onto 2024. So we just need a moment of silence. But I was curious. I want y'all to comment below to let me know, which character do you feel like you resonate with as far as personality? And I'm not saying that you engage in the activities that they do or anything like that. I would say for me personally, I resonate with Lexi the most. And I was just so happy. Like, you know, the fact that she just didn't have a lot of confidence in herself. And then when she finally, you know, let go and just use her creativeness, she just blossomed and just was that. And that was admiring, because I just can really relate to that. Another person that I resonated with, sort of, kind of, is Elliot. He is very empathic and very sweet, and he thinks about other people, even if it may come off or seem wrong in the moment. His intentions are always in the right place, and I like him, and he's adorable. So comment below and let me know, which character from Euphoria do you feel you resonate with the most? I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I hope it was some good tools that you can take with you along your healing journey. And just always remember, healing begins and ends with self.
Leticia, Linda, Felicia, Dawn, LaShawn, Inez, and Alicia, Teresa, Monica.